they go to bed.
There you go.
Well, we are a 65-minute kind of form, and so what we like to do is spend about the first 15 minutes with a particular topic, and then we spend the next usually 20, 30-some minutes talking. If there are questions or comments or ideas or brainstorming, and then just some social time really to kind of get better acquainted and things like that. So that's kind of our goal. Let me give Jesse his due here. Business owners and entrepreneurs really can't afford to be ill today. And we usually can't afford the downtime in our business because we're wearing so many hats. And sometimes, due to lack of insurance, we can't really afford to have to deal with the treatment of that when we don't have that as independent business professionals. So therefore, preventive maintenance really is totally the key when it comes to staying on track in your business vision, mission, and just the activities you need to do to develop business. So a part of staying healthy is, of course, not only eating well and sleeping right, but making your home kind of a pretty inhabitable kind of castle, if you will. And today we're going to learn some of the advanced technologies or advanced science in the industry of heating and cooling, and it's probably something that's not often discussed at forums, and so this is kind of a unique topic, I think, for us. And having spent numerous hours chatting and strategizing with Jesse during 2010, I can tell you that this guy really knows his stuff when it comes to technology. He's really, you just sit and listen to him, you're like, wow, I had no idea it was so sophisticated, that sort of thing. I just turned the button on, kind of thing. But for 5 years and 11 months, Jesse was president of Indianapolis, which was an HVAC wholesale distribution company and a provider of products and services to mechanical and HVAC contractors. And as he tells it, it was his commitment to reconnecting with people, really, that led him 1 year ago to go off and launch and become the chief executive officer in EcoSource Global and out of Westfield, and that he describes really as kind of a forward-thinking, earth-friendly, temperature-control company specializing in expert solutions in indoor air quality and energy management for residential and light kind of commercial clients. And so thus our buddy Jesse is really completely qualified to lead today's discussion about kind of how to have great air quality and quality of life, if you will, at home or at work.
Thanks for the kind words, Blake. Appreciate that. All right, so improving indoor air quality. Today we're going to talk specifically about understanding proper humidity control. Proper humidity control is one of the most important aspects of total indoor comfort, yet it's one of the least understood. One reason is that humidity is intangible, or isn't intangible rather. It can't be seen, touched, or smelled. It has no color and no sound. However, its presence, when controlled properly, offers many proven benefits. In the Midwest, homes generally require humidification in the heating months, fall and winter. Conversely, homes require dehumidification in the cooling months, spring and summer. And a lot of people just aren't privy to that basic fundamental. I think there's a lot of confusion regarding, okay, I've got a humidifier, but when does this run? And a lot of people are aware that their air conditioning system essentially is a dehumidifier. But there's still a lot beyond that, and that's what we're going to dive into this morning. Relative humidity, for starters, is a measurement of the amount of water vapor in a mixture of air and water vapor. And I'm going to take a swing at trying to explain it in layman's terms. However, it's very difficult. But first and foremost, I'll tell you, I'm not certain why the weatherman uses relative humidity, because it's relative to the temperature. So it lends to a lot of confusion, and it's really only worth utilizing, in my opinion, when you're talking about indoor temperatures, because we've got a constant temperature, usually around 70 degrees, where we can understand what that relative humidity level is. Because the hotter the air, the more capacity the air has to retain humidity. The ideal, well, first let me back up. Who's heard the old adage, it's not the heat, it's the humidity? Probably everybody, right? We've been out in the desert in Vegas at 110. It doesn't feel too unbearable relative to 95 in Indiana, for instance. So, and we're going to explain why that is. But first off, back to relative humidity. The ideal humidity levels in a home for the heating months are 25 to 35% RH. Okay? And in the cooling months, the ideal range is 40 to 50% RH. Now, here's where the problem lies. The relative humidity levels in a heated home are typically in the single digits. This is comparable to desert climates, frankly. And central air conditioning systems are designed to achieve 50% relative humidity. So in the summer months, we're actually trying to pull moisture out. In the winter months, we're trying to add humidity. But the problem is that our systems, actually our AC systems, only designed in optimal conditions to pull it down to 50% RH, where I've already stated that the ideal range is actually 40 to 50%. So our best case scenario generally is to be at the very top and more than likely outside of the optimum range. All right, so first we're going to learn about the humidity needs in the winter months. Heating your home dries out the air, very simply put. The resulting dry air absorbs moisture from you and everything inside your home. Even newer, tighter built homes will succumb to the negative effects of air that is too dry. I'm going to go through some of the concerns that arise from too dry of a home. First is home damage. When heated air isn't properly humidified, it causes walls and ceilings to crack and wood floors and trim to separate. The addition of reduction of moisture drastically affects the qualities, dimensions, and weights of many materials. For example, wood, leather, paper, and cloth all contain water. Paper, plastic, cloth, fibers, glue, skin, and practically everything else in the home shrink as they lose water and swell as they take on water. If the water loss is rapid, warping and cracking can take place. As the RH changes, the condition and dimensions of the material change as constantly as the weather. And need I remind anyone how frequently the weather changes in Indiana, right? This is why humidity must be added and controlled. Furniture construction is affected as glue dries out, joints separate, and cracks appear. Plaster and drywall dries out, pianos, organs, and other musical instruments lose their tone, pieces of art, books, and documents dry out and can break or crack. Your home and its furnishings make up what is likely your largest investment. All right, another concern is irritation and discomfort. Heating your indoor air dries out your skin. This not only makes you feel itchy, but it can also make you feel chilly. This cold effect is not the only discomfort caused by too dry of air. Annoying static electricity is another indication of low humidity levels. Proper relative humidity will reduce this discomfort. And then an additional concern, of course, is increased energy costs. As previously mentioned, dry air robs the moisture from your skin, making you feel colder, which means you turn up the heat. Okay? Dry air also shrinks the framing around the doors and windows, resulting in gaps that let cold air in from the outside, making your home less energy efficient. And I can attest to that personally. I own a pretty elaborate software program where I perform load analysis on different structures. And it gives me a pie graph to determine where our heat loss is, whether it's through the walls and windows, and up to 40% of our heat loss is typically attributed to infiltration. So when we have the constant cracking from the dry air, then that just lends to further infiltration in the home. A whole home humidifier also allows you to feel warmer at lower thermostat settings. The EPA reports that you can save up to 4% on your heating bill for every degree that you lower your thermostat. So in reality, what happens is when we have humidified air as opposed to dry air, we can likely set our thermostat at 68 degrees as opposed to 72 and have a superior comfort level than we would at the 72 degree range with the dry air. And then last and certainly not least is unhealthy air. Okay? Viruses thrive in low humidity conditions and can actually increase the likelihood of getting colds, flus, and other respiratory ailments. Also, overly dry environments significantly increase susceptibility to infection. A whole home humidifier is a solution to all these problems. Okay, now just as crucial as providing humidification in the heating months, we must consider the dehumidification requirements in a home as well. And this is even more overlooked than the need for humidification in the heating months. Air conditioners, again, are designed to remove humidity as well as heat. If anyone's ever walked to their air conditioner while it's running in the summer months, you feel hot air blowing off of it. That's actually the heat being extracted from your house through a heat transfer process. If you look a little closer, inside you have a drain adjacent to where your furnace or air handler is located, and there's water coming out of it. That's actually the humidity being removed from your home. As the air goes across the coil is below the dew point, and it condenses it to a liquid and goes out the drain. Okay? The problem again is the typical design of an AC system operating in optimal conditions is only going to pull the RH down to 50%. And again, our optimum range is 40 to 50, okay, for cooling season. So first let's talk a bit about where moisture comes from. People and their activities. First of all, home occupants account for 25 pounds of moisture per day. And that's pretty hard to comprehend for most.
You say we're swimming.
Yeah. To put it mildly. People exhaling, cooking, dishwashing, bathing, and washing clothes, all these things are going to produce humidity inside the home. Ventilation, whether it be natural infiltration from outside air or an intended mechanical ventilation, either way we're going to introduce that humid air in the warmer months into the structure. And then moisture contained in building materials. A lot of these newer homes have a large amount of moisture present in the building materials. Other sources are crawl spaces and basements, clean carpets and floors, and then pools and spas. Okay, here are just a few of the circumstances when dedicated dehumidification offers the protection that you need. In spring and fall, when humidity can rise, but temperatures aren't hot enough to use air conditioning. Now that's very important to talk about a bit more. Our air conditioner is driven by temperature, and it's only dehumidifying while it's running. So the problem arises if we've got elevated humidity levels, but it's yet not warm enough to drive the air conditioner to run by the temperature increase. That's when we really can have the need for a dehumidifier. When excess moisture is more than your air conditioner can handle a load, that's another scenario. Sometimes it's 93 degrees and very humid, and we're just overtaxing the air conditioner. And again, even if conditions are optimal, we're still lucky to get it down to 50% RH. And then in higher efficiency, tighter homes, when air conditioning doesn't need to run as long, but trapped moisture continues to build. So you can see this theme here. It has a lot to do with runtime. And as the structures become tighter and tighter, although it's obviously very advantageous from an energy consumption standpoint, it can also be a detriment as we trap contaminants, including moisture, inside the structure. Okay, extra capacity and protection for that musty basement. Here's a big one. Excess humidity in the air can cause basements to smell musty and feel unhealthy and noticeably damp. It can also damage furniture, furnishings, and stored items. Who here has a portable in their basement? Does anyone have a basement for starters?
I have a rental house that has it.
Okay.
It's an old house.
Do you guys run a portable unit down there?
Portable.
Dehumidifier?
No.
Okay. Oftentimes, if it's finished, people are always
Right,
running
finished,
that.
right.
If it's not finished, it's generally not as high of a priority. But
Called the dungeon.
yeah,
When I lived there.
more of a cellar than a basement, maybe.
Basically.
Well, common portable dehumidifiers are really a weak answer, okay, for that finished basement. They don't perform well in cool basement environments, and you may need more than one to properly treat the entire space. Plus, they're messy, noisy, and often freeze up over time. A high-capacity central dehumidifier, however, can remove up to 135 pints per day and are significantly more efficient than portables in the same condition, which means they cost less to operate. Now think about this 135 pints per day, just for a moment. That's 135 pounds of water in a day. That's a lot of water. And think about where that water would be otherwise if we didn't have that unit operating in the home. Dalton's law, basically, humidity is classified as a gas. So humid air moves to dry air and vice versa. It's always searching for equilibrium. So if we have this moisture present, it's just going to have a tendency to saturate the drywall and all the wood, and that's when we lend ourselves to the warping and these other things that I've been mentioning here. Okay, now the comfort aspect of dehumidification is easy to identify those hot and sticky days when your home is unbearable without a central air conditioner. But there are also key times of the year when humidity levels are high enough to make you feel uncomfortable even at moderate temperatures when the air conditioner is not running. Days when your basement is damp and musty smelling even with your air conditioner running is one example. The temperature is at the thermostat set point or below, but you still feel uncomfortable. You get a clammy feeling or suffer from sleepless or restless nights, or you use blankets to keep warm in the middle of the summer. Now, there's also a little bit of discussion that needs to take place on this as well. One of the worst things you can do in the summer months is open your windows at night as the temperatures drop. And the reason is we're going to let all that humidity, and then when we pay good money to dehumidify the home all day the best that we can with our air conditioning system, when we close the windows in the morning and turn our AC back on, well, it's cool. So again, it's driven by temperature. We're not going to warm up and start running until probably 11 o'clock in the morning, so that the relative humidity just climbs and climbs and climbs. And I've been able to notice, over time in certain places that I've lived in the evening, if you're not getting that runtime, you get a little uncomfortable, even if it's 70 degrees in the home, and that is why, because our relative humidity is creeping up. All right, and then for dehumidifiers, protecting your health. This is a big one. Allergens like molds thrive in relative humidity conditions above 60%, leading to a variety of ailments including asthma, allergies, and respiratory infections. Dust mites, the leading cause of allergies, thrive in homes with high relative humidity. Here's some quick facts about dust mites and the dust mite allergy. Obviously, they're microscopic. Most of you are probably privy to that. And by no way am I trying to use scare tactics. It's just simply information that I'm trying to offer here. I did not include a handout with a big picture of the dust mite. We've all seen it. It doesn't give you a warm and fuzzy feeling, or it certainly doesn't me anyway. But at least 10% of the human population, approximately 80% of allergy sufferers, are allergic to proteins that are found in the waste and decomposed body parts of the dust mite. Okay? So a lot of people suffer from their presence. They're very difficult to eradicate. We've basically discovered that there are two effective natural ways to eradicate dust mites. One is 140 degree water or higher. Okay, that'll kill the dust mite. Or if we can keep relative humidity below 50%, it ceases to exist in that environment. So this is how we can best accomplish ridding ourselves of that dust mite. They grow best at 75 to 80% relative humidity, and they cannot survive more below 50%. Okay, so again, a whole home dehumidifier is the solution to these problems. And another side note is I'll mention that whether you're updating your home to be healthy, energy efficient, and sustainable, or you're building a new green certified home, central humidifiers and dehumidifiers help qualify your home for the Green Built Certification Program of the National Association of Home Builders. And so that's something else to consider. And then lastly, I just want to spend a couple minutes talking about how we can control and monitor humidity levels for those that have an interest in it. And this certainly isn't required, but it's just kind of a neat toy that our industry has now. There's it's touted as the world's first smart thermostat. And it's called Ecobee is the brand. And I actually have an app on my phone where I can pull up my thermostat screen and change settings real time. Beyond that, I've also got access to a web portal that I can download reports, go to any given time of day and any date and see what the outdoor temperature is, the indoor temperature is, and the relative humidity inside and outside. So we can really do some investigating to try to identify what your needs are in the home with this particular setup, and obviously monitor things, including setting up alerts where we can be emailed, text messaged, or receive a phone call if we get outside of the predetermined parameters that we set up on the front side. And believe it or not, something like this is installed usually for around $1,000, so it's not as expensive as you might think. It has a built-in wireless antenna that connects to Wi-Fi and retrieves all your weather data from NIST certified weather data stations throughout North America, and allows you, again, web access remotely from any computer in the world. So I've got a dear friend of mine that owns a a rental property in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and he has elected to install one of these. He's got a dummy thermostat, shame on him, and the Ecobee's hidden in a closet. And he controls everything remotely from Indianapolis to prevent the tenant that might have a tendency to turn it down to 60 degrees and leave, since he's a few hundred miles away. So that's another example of how it can be utilized. But with that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that any of you might have.